Hey, hi. Well, guys, I offered him to all of my other couples, and they all said no. Carrie was down to adopt, but his wife Pidgeotto was against it. Um, Bob and Skittle said no. Uh, the the two funeral release pigeons with their husbands, they didn't say no exactly, but they just kind of looked like at the kid like they didn't know what to do with him. So a comment that I got recently kind of made me realize I don't think it's been entirely clear with everyone who watches these videos that I have hand raised a lot of these guys. And that is because Deku and Penguin, what they did was very rare. Um, at least in my experience, it's, you know, um, Fleck and Goldie accepted Otis, and they have said no to just about every other baby since. A lot of them are one and done. Many couples just don't want to raise babies that they know they didn't hatch. Um, and did you do a poop there? Okay, let's close that off. The other thing, you don't necessarily want to give these guys this young to a couple that isn't in the process of sitting on eggs. The reason being, when they're sitting on eggs, their bodies are producing crop milk. They're getting ready to feed newborn babies the things that newborn babies need. Kind of like when a human mother is pregnant, her breasts start, getting ready to produce milk. Um, Couples who aren't sitting on eggs will sometimes accept a baby, but the problem with that is they will try to feed them, but they don't have crop milk ready yet because they haven't been sitting on eggs. Their bodies weren't triggered to do that. So they regurge feed them whatever they have, and sometimes that runs the risk of putting whole seeds into these guys, which they can't digest yet. When that happens, you have to flush it out with a crop flush or they will die. And so, pretty much what I've always done is offered my babies to couples who are sitting on eggs. I was curious to see how Biggs and Icy and Missile and Snowy would react, but I wasn't going to give him to them because they are not currently sitting on eggs. Um, so, anyway, I don't think it's been very obvious how many of these guys I have raised myself and kept feral. But most of the time, when I get babies, especially since Penguin died and Deku retired from raising kids, my couples almost always reject them, and I have to hand raise them. There is a way to do that and keep them feral. I have to keep my interaction very minimal. I feed them, and that is pretty much it. Um, when they're old enough and they start walking and they start to get feathers, I will put them in a cage in my pigeon room so they can be around the rest of my birds, and that way they see them, they learn to eat by watching the rest of my birds. They mimic all their behaviors, they learn how to be a proper pigeon. And I keep feeding them as long as but then I'll start putting seeds in there, and eventually I'll come to find to feed them one day and find they have a crop full of seeds because they started eating on their own by watching my other pigeons. And then my interaction with them is reduced even more. And by the time they are a teenager on the cusp of puberty, they don't want anything to do with me because I'm a scary human. And that's by design. So, um, yes, a lot of these guys have not been raised by my couples. A lot of them have been raised by me. I do know how to keep them feral. Unfortunately, with Deku retired and Penguin gone, I don't have a couple I can always give babies to. I thought Fleck and Goldie might be it, but after Otis, they kind of stopped laying eggs and don't seem very interested. So, it's kind of a crapshoot. Um, there's always a small risk that they'll turn out maybe a little bit domestic without pidge parents, but my only other option, if all my pidges reject them, is to just not feed them and let them die, which I'm not going to do. But so far, I have a near 100% success rate in keeping them feral. Bob is the only exception, and Bob is very unique. I don't think there's anything I could have done or not done that would have made him choose differently. He does what he decides he wants to do. He doesn't care about DNA, he doesn't care about nature, he doesn't care about nurture. He just does what he wants. So, but yeah, I'm gonna have to raise this guy myself. Like I have a lot of them, and he will turn out feral, and he'll be just fine.